plants don't actually want you to eat them, funny enough.
That's what I've heard,
And, you know, and, you know, cows don't want you to eat them either. That's why.
I don't think anything wants you to eat them, apart from my ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
But does like stuff like fruit, because it's tasty,
yeah.
like tasty, sugary, that flavour, is that something they want you to eat because then you excrete their seeds into the ground and then it
Well, they want
populates
something.
them?
They want something to eat.
Yeah.
You know? And so, yeah, nothing wants to be eaten. You know what I mean? Maybe a lemming. I don't know. But like, you know, so everything has a defense is the main thing, right? So a cow's defense is by being a big, massive, strong animal that can kick and stomp you to death and stab you with its horns.
Also bogans.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this is something Chris Promod mentioned last when he was on. He was talking, and he's not an expert, so we didn't dive too much into it. But defense chemicals within vegetables themselves. Before we go into the carnivore diet itself, like, do you know much about the defense chemicals and what sort of damages they can do to us?
That was the entire reason I stopped eating plants 23 years ago.
Okay.
You know, I was taking cancer biology at the University of Washington in Seattle, in my undergrad, and we learned.
How old are you? You look like 25. You're like 23 years ago.
And
when I was
23 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just turned 43.
Wow. I'm fucking turning carnivore
I am
today.
going carnivore. Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah. So when I was doing my undergrad, took cancer biology, and I I'd already studied botany, I'd already studied biology. Literally in 7th grade, I learned that plants and animals are in an evolutionary arms race. Plants becoming more and more poisonous, so less and less animals can eat them, so they can survive and thrive. And then animals becoming more and more adapted to specific poisons in specific plants, so they can break those poisons down safely and detoxify them and get the nutrients out of it as well, so they can survive and thrive. And that's their evolutionary niche. This is why even animals that exclusively eat plants, they eat very specific plants.
Yeah.
Right? And so like a koala eats eucalyptus. Like nothing else eats eucalyptus, right?
Yeah.
But a koala doesn't eat anything else because it has the defenses for eucalyptus. It does not have the defenses for spinach and broccoli. It can't eat those things. Yeah. And so, you know, that's how that works. And so if your species hasn't evolved to eat a specific plant, that plant is bad for you to varying degrees. We have some defenses, but we don't have perfect defenses. And the other way that plants defend themselves is by making those nutrients not bioavailable. They're bound up in different chemical bonds that we don't have the enzymes to break apart and split out and take out, right? And so, you know, there's tons of iron in spinach. You can't get it, you know, maybe you'll get a bit of it, you know, but you're not getting much of it. And
well, that was I just had all my bloods taken prior to finishing vegetarian for 5 years. And that was the one factor. Everything else was really good because I was vegetarian, not vegan.
So you're not iron,
so my B12s and all that stuff was pretty good. I was getting that through my dairy. But my iron was still in the good level because I still had a lot of spinach, broccoli, those sorts of things. But it was still on how he described it was on the low end of good.
The mini Tony Stark. No iron in your
Yeah.
But with the spinach thing, there was just an outbreak of hallucinogenic spinach. Yeah. Is that got something to do with their chemical defenses, or did somebody spray the spinach and fuck that up? Do you know what happened there?
I saw a headline. I didn't read too much into it, but you know, you do have to recognize that in America, I don't know the exact stats here, but I assume they're similar in Australia. In America, 98.5% of food poisoning cases are through produce.
Wow.
Yeah, because
of insecticides?
No, because well, look, you're out in the middle of a field that's 6 miles long, and you're just picking this stuff, and you're getting paid by the weight that you're picking this stuff. Yeah. You got to relieve yourself. You're not walking 3 miles back, you know. Yeah. And so you're just defecating, urinating there.
I used to work in a nursery, and it's definitely true.
You know, and you're not washing your hands, and you're going to pick someone else's lettuce, and you just keep going. So you get E. coli on some lettuce, you bleach that stuff. It's not coming out. You know, it doesn't matter how much you spin it in your little salad spinner. You know, you're not getting that off.
Hey guys, just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, the Carnivore Bar. I don't promote many products because honestly, all you need to be healthy is to just eat meat. For those times that you're out hiking, road tripping, or stuck at work and you want a nutritious snack that is just meat, fat, and salt if you want it, the Carnivore Bar is a great option. So I like this product not because it's just pure meat, but also because I want the carnivore market to thrive as well. And the more we support meat-only products, the more meat-only products there will be available in the mainstream. So if this sounds like something you'd like to get behind, check it out using my discount code Anthony to get 10% off. which also applies to subscriptions, giving you 25% off total. All right, thanks guys.
And never even thought of it that way.
Yeah. Well, you know,
and I'm interested in regards to the pesticides and the chemicals. Obviously, I don't know if we manipulate the vegetables themselves to be resistant to them at all or whatever, but surely they're playing a factor in what we're ingesting them.
Yeah, but that's also a bit of a red herring as well, because people will say like, well, no, the vegetables are all great. We're living in, God's Eden. And so obviously everything's here for us. That's not the case. There was research out of UC Berkeley in the 1980s. So in 1989, Professor Bruce Ames published a big paper talking about the natural toxins and pesticides in plants, right? Because they're stopping insects from eating them. So they have natural pesticides, natural insecticides. You can think of them that way. And he found that 99.99% of the pesticides and insecticides were actually inherent in the plant itself. They made them themselves.
Oh, wow.
So what does that mean? That means that 10,000 times more naturally occurring poisons in the plants than the pesticides we spray on them by weight. And that the naturally occurring pesticides were far more likely to cause harm and things like cancer than in lab mice, obviously. That's how they were testing this. Than the pesticides they were spraying it against. So they looked at mushrooms, and they were comparing this against alar, which was they're actually trying to ban this.
What's an alar?
Alar is a pesticide, especially they used in apples. Pesticide also helped them ripen, and so it was used in in that industry, and they're trying to ban it. They're trying to get rid of it. And he was sort of pointing out, it's like, guys, we've been using these chemicals for decades. Why were they causing a problem now? When they didn't 80 years ago, when we were using 10 times the amount that we are now. Yeah. And so he did the studies, and he looked at it, and he found that there was 10,000 times more naturally occurring toxins than the alar, and that mushrooms were 500 times more likely to cause cancer than alar. In the rat. So
tragic mushrooms, not magic ones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just the boring normal. Right?
And I guess because I think we've seen studies show that the plants can communicate from one side of a field to another. Yeah. And I don't know what the science behind that is.
That's a movie. That's The Happening.
Do you know the science behind this? Or?
A bit of it, yeah. So they can communicate in a number of different ways. They send off chemical signals that the other plants can pick up, and they send specific signals depending on what's happening.
That's so insane.
And they obviously find that they vibrate in a certain frequency as well that we can't hear, but you can actually measure. And so when they would sort of dry out plants, whatever, they'd send out a certain frequency saying like, I'm dry as hell, I need help.
That's usually a text message from my ex as well.
And so that's one way that they can communicate. They can send off chemical signals. So if you start cutting them, or like an insect starts eating a certain plant, they'll start sending off chemicals, and they'll start producing more toxins specific to that insect, right? Because they can tell by the frequency and the vibration of the chewing, which is pretty crazy.
It's awesome.
And they can send off a specific signal to the rest of the plants, and those other plants start making more toxins against like aphids or something like that. Like, oh Christ, they're back again. We'll make more of these things.
Your pancreas is going to be working no matter what you eat, so you might as well eat the thing that's actually good for you and is going to reduce inflammation, like fat. And the carbs are going to increase inflammation, and even just because that causes metabolic distress, it raises insulin, that causes inflammation. The different plants cause inflammation.